Okay, where do we begin with this story? A couple days ago, I believe it was Sunday, I told you about the Pentagon leaked documents, right? And the information that was believed to be a part of those documents at that point in time. Now, at that time, there were suspicions from CNN commentators, which I played on the show, where they were trying to say that maybe it was Russia who did this. And I was like, really interesting. They had no proof, but they were trying to give the American people that impression. Now, a suspect has been arrested. And I want to be careful here. And I want to make sure I say suspect and allegedly, because I don't really know. But there is something strange about this particular situation. The suspect was here in Massachusetts. Of course, it had to be. I knew it had to be Massachusetts. I knew they had to find somebody here. Lived here in Massachusetts. His name is Jack, or I think it's Jake Teixeira. I believe that's a Portuguese name based on the way it's spelled. If I'm right, it would be pronounced Teixeira. And I'm saying that because some people had contacted me and they're like, how do you pronounce his name? So I looked at it. I think that is a Portuguese name. So the X would be pronounced like an S. Anywho, 21 years old. 21 years old, soldier. He was arrested at his home here in Massachusetts. Now, before I play this clip, I want to go ahead and say this. My spidey senses are going off about this particular event. Something to me just seems to be a little bit off. And I'm going to get into that. Let's get started with this clip here. You'll see they are picking up the suspect here.
There are some pictures there coming in, I believe, showing some of the law enforcement activity there at the family home in Massachusetts, where the arrest was made. This is now obviously in the hands of, there you see the pictures of someone who is being, we believe, to be Teixeira, who is being taken into custody. The FBI was preparing to do this. They had hoped to have a little more time as part of this investigation.
Notice how they have him walking backwards and not forward. You see that? I believe that is a safety precaution.
But the identity of this person was made public by some of the news media reports in the New York Times and, of course, the Washington Post, which has been doing a lot of reporting on this over the last few days, reported on his identity. So I'm told by sources that the investigation kind of accelerated as a result of his identity becoming public. So now we expect that he's going to be taken to a federal court there in Massachusetts, in Boston, where the procedure will begin to remove him and bring him down to the Washington, D.C. area, where we expect that the charges are going to be filed for his connection to the leaking of these documents.
We're going to pause there for a second. I want to point out something that he mentioned, the Washington Post. So they were the ones that apparently outed him, so to speak. But I have questions, and I think you should too. You guys know I came from a military family. I talk about this often on the show. I'm very familiar with how the branches of the military work. And the ranking system, right? Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. But somebody please explain to me how a 21-year-old soldier of the National Guard was able to obtain top secret Pentagon documents. All of you need to ask this question, okay? He wasn't even a lieutenant. He wasn't an officer. He wasn't a colonel. This is a 21-year-old boy, which if I'm doing my estimation correctly, he probably entered the military when he was 18. Even if he entered the military when he was 20, 19, etc., he is a low-ranking soldier. So how does a low-ranking soldier get access to that type of information? Am I really supposed to believe this? Am I really supposed to believe this? Let me tell you what I think is going on. Let me tell you what I think is going on. I think he could be a scapegoat. I think that someone else higher up is actually the person who obtained that information. You cannot sit up here and tell me that someone that is at that low of a rank in the National Guard, they don't even operate Monday through Friday. So let's just put them to the side, okay? They were able to obtain that level of secrecy. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. Something is fishy here about this entire story. Let's go on. I have more to show you.
At this point, there's not a lot we know about the exact charges. We expect we might hear more from the Attorney General and from the Justice Department soon, whenever they decide to make public the charges that are to be announced. But we do know, obviously, that they, as you could hear from that briefing just now at the Pentagon, they're treating this as a criminal matter. They believe that there's some serious national security damage that has been done by the exposure of these documents. The Washington Post said that there's as many as 500 documents that they had seen on various platforms, including on these chat rooms.
21-year-old low-ranking soldier was able to get 500 documents. I don't buy it. I don't buy this. I don't believe it. Something is up. That's right, Steve. Seems very sus. It does not make any sense, guys. The lower the rank, the less access you have in reference to confidential information, top secret information, etc. He's a baby, basically. You're 21 years old in the military. You're a baby. Let's go on.
Discord, which is a gaming platform. And so that's, of course, now in the hands of the Justice Department and prosecutors who are going to be bringing the federal charges against this young man. Again, 21-year-old Jack Teixeira, 21 years old, member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. Again, those are pictures, we believe, of Teixeira being taken into custody by the FBI and by the investigators there who've been working this case frantically over the last few days.
He shared the information, allegedly, on Discord. Now, if you haven't been on Discord or you're not familiar with how Discord works, on Discord, people can share all kinds of stuff, right? You can be in different rooms in Discord, different servers on Discord. And what I'm wondering is, just because he shared the information on Discord, allegedly, does that actually mean that he's the one that obtained the information originally? If you haven't been on these platforms, I don't even think some of the people, the commentators or the government officials, I don't even think they understand how something like Discord works. Discord is different from a platform like Twitter. Discord, you can have multiple servers on Discord, multiple different rooms on Discord. So what I would want to know is, how do they know for certain that he was the originator? We need to ask these questions. This whole story to me is just a little bit strange. And now that they have a suspect, I feel like the focus is not going to be on the information that was found in those documents. The focus is going to be on the suspect. And so now Americans who are watching mainstream media, their minds are going to turn off to the information that was revealed, and they're going to be focused on the suspect. Similar thing with the Twitter files. Once people started pointing fingers at Matt Taibbi, people's minds turned off the information that Matt Taibbi revealed, and they were just focused on the fact like, oh, Matt Taibbi might be secret right-wing person. This is on purpose, but don't let that happen to you. Make sure you stay focused on the information that was revealed. Let's go on.
Diana, Erica?
Evan, thank you. Stay with us. Also joining us, CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell. Josh, as we look at the way all of this is unfolding, and again, if folks are just joining us, you're looking at these pictures from our affiliates there from just moments ago of Jack Teixeira. We believe this is at the family home in Dighton, Massachusetts, which is in the southern part of the state, just a little bit south of Taunton, Mass. As one of the things that stood out, so
that's close to Rhode Island. That's actually, yeah. That's closer to Rhode Island if he's down in that portion.
But we just heard in this Pentagon briefing, there were specific questions about whether certain platforms like Discord are being monitored. How long were these documents out there? And what we heard twice was that, part of what DOD does, they're really monitoring more on an international level, not as much domestically, Josh. So when we look at what is or is not out there, what is your sense of who is monitoring potential activity on these sites that could include sensitive intelligence documents? Do we know?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here comes the push for the federal government to monitor these platforms. Here comes the push to force the hand of politicians in Congress to pass that Restrict Act. Pay attention to what's happening here. Everybody's in on it. Everybody's in. Mainstream media is in on this. They want this to happen too, because this is what the State Department wants to happen. Now, the federal government can say, well, you know what? We need to be monitoring these apps like Discord so that something like this never happens again. Oh, and while we're at it, let us go ahead and monitor, we'll continue to monitor Twitter, Facebook. Let us actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and pass that Restrict Act and give us access to all of the internet and the routers in people's homes so we can see who's doing what, when, and where. And when I say that, it almost makes me wonder if this information wasn't leaked on purpose for that very reason. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the GOV. And I don't know where this young man came from, but 21 years old? Come on, man. You got to give me something better than that. Let's go on.
I can tell you, after every major spy case that we've seen arrest in U.S. history, going back to Aldrich Ames in '94, Robert Hansen, who was an FBI agent in 2001, after Chelsea Manning, after Reality Winter, after all of these espionage cases, the government does an after action and tries to determine what were the vulnerabilities. How was this information compromised? And although, this arrest is going down right now, we believe that is the suspect there on your screen. The spy hunters are obviously celebrating that this person is now been taken into custody. They are preparing themselves for the accusations, the ridicule, the criticism that's to come, and that is, how could this information be compromised? And it gets exactly to what you were just saying there, as far as the systems, what monitoring is being done, what tripwires are out there. And so again, the good news for the spy hunters is that this person is now in custody, but they have a lot of work to do to determine what best practices may have been violated, what new best practices may need to be implemented.
We need to chime in here for just a second. They have not figured out how the information was obtained. They're arresting the suspect. That doesn't seem odd to you guys? This whole thing to me, it doesn't feel right. Like I told you, like the spidey senses, they're going off. It's very strange, very bizarre. But they don't know. They can't even tell you how the information was obtained to begin with. But the Washington Post has revealed that it was him. Let's go on.
As we look at this video, I do want to point out one thing. Those watching may be wondering, well, why this overwhelming show of force here, where you have FBI tactical agents who are now taking someone into custody who isn't accused of a violent act. This person accused of disclosing information improperly. FBI agents, as they prepare their arrest plan, they will work to determine, gather every piece of intelligence that they can as they assess, is this a dangerous person? We know from that stunning Washington Post report recently that the individual who led this group on this platform, who we believe to be this Air Guardsman who's now been taken into custody, had...
They believe to be. This is why I continue to say allegedly.
Talked about being a gun enthusiast, had been at gun ranges. He's obviously a member of the military. And so the FBI is factoring that into their determination about what type of force you bring to this residence in order to take this person into custody. As we saw at the beginning of the video, this arrest obviously taking place outside. And this is very much textbook. The FBI operators there want to control the situation. They don't want to rush up to the house and rush up to the suspect. What you saw in that video is the FBI agents commanding that officer, that suspect, right there, calling him back to the vehicle. You can see the agents there safely tucked behind that up-armored Bearcat. They're bringing the suspect to them. They have control of the situation. You see that his hands are on top of his head. That obviously, so he doesn't try to, reach for a weapon. They need to ensure that he's secured. And so we're seeing that very textbook. They have the indication that this person may own a gun, may be a gun enthusiast. They don't want to take any chances. And then we move to the next step. That home.
I want you to think about what he just said. May own a gun, may be a gun enthusiast. He's in the military. Come on, guys, really? He's in the military. Now, there's more I want to talk about in reference to this particular story, because like I said, something is rotten in Denmark. Now, Glenn Greenwald had something to say about this as well. He was on Tucker Carlson recently. And I think what I noticed too is like Glenn can see right through the cloud, can see right through it. Shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. You guys need to see this because there's something that Glenn Greenwald points out here about this particular situation as well. And you might want to look at Washington Post with a side eye. There's something off here. This whole thing to me is just weird. Listen to this.
Personal. He's the host of System Update on Rumble. He broke, of course, the most famous leaking story in American history, the story of Ed Snowden. He joins us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. I should say, and I'll just be quiet and let you speak since you know this better than anyone, but we left out a lot of details that are being reported in the Washington Post, the New York Times, et cetera, tonight about the leaker and where this all came from, because honestly, I don't believe anything. And it's very hard to know what's true. We're all being spun. We're all being lied to, and we just didn't want to repeat the lies. So with that, what do you make of this?
I can't think of an incident, Tucker, that reveals more vividly the real function of our nation's largest media corporations than what just happened here. If you're a real journalist, somebody who's devoted to transparency, shining a light on the most powerful government actors when they lie to the American people and informing the public, you would be celebrating this person who stepped forward and risked his security to show his fellow citizens that the government was lying about this incredibly important war with a nuclear armed power, that we have actual troops deployed on the ground in Ukraine. There's going to be no diplomatic resolution through at least 2023, that Zelensky is planning on using our weapons to strike deep into Russia, which we were told would never happen, risking escalation. He did the job of what journalists claim to do, which is show the public the truth.
And the Washington Post, in turn, decided to rat him out to the authorities. They decided to play cop. And I'm glad that Glenn brought it back to the information that was revealed, because that is the important piece. You see, they had to get someone, right? Not, again, allegedly, we don't know for sure, allegedly, but they had to get someone quickly, because if they didn't get someone quickly, then that gives more time for people to focus on the information that was revealed. And there's no question. I mean, we don't know how many people saw this information. There's a lot of people on Discord. And one of the articles that I read on Sunday said it was also spread on Telegram. There's a lot of people on Telegram. But now that they have a suspect, now the focus for a lot of mainstream media, if you look this up right now, the focus is on the individual, not the information that was revealed. Notice in the CNN clip I played you, they didn't really talk about the information that was revealed. they focused on the suspect. Let's go on.
If you work for the intelligence agencies, you would be furious at this person. You would hate him because he revealed that you just lied. He exposed the truth about what you were doing. What's amazing is the New York Times, the Washington Post, all the people who were at that Pentagon briefing today think the way the CIA and the Pentagon think. They hate this person. It was the New York Times and the Washington Post that did the FBI's work and found the leaker and led the FBI to him.
They snitched. They're a rat.
They're demanding that he be punished. They're demanding that the government clamp down and keep things more and more secret. What kind of journalist would ever do that, would want to see a leaker exposed and punished and then demand that the government keep even more secret? But that is what these media corporations are there to do. They love leaks. When the CIA and Homeland Security tell them to leak, that's when they disseminate propaganda in the public, like they did during the Trump years when they leaked the transcript between Michael Flynn and Ambassador Kislyak, the most serious kind of leaking crime. The Washington Post did that. Nobody looked for that leaker. Nobody cared. Everybody cheered because it served the interests of the security state. But when it comes to transparency that undermines the agenda of these agencies and that proves to the American people what the truth is, it's amazing that these journalists are on the side of the government and will actually hunt down the leaker and demand that he be punished even more.
They are on the side of the government because they repeat the State Department talking points. We are living in a very scary time when an outlet like the Washington Post would basically do the FBI's job for them. What is happening here, people? What is happening here? You can't trust them. The mainstream, I told you, you cannot trust the mainstream journalist. You can't trust it.
I just don't understand how any journalist could collaborate in hiding the fact that we're in a direct hot war with Russia. Maybe you support that, maybe you don't. But how could you hide something that significant, the most significant fact of our generation, from the public? How could you do that?
And one of the things that was revealed is that they were saying that Zelensky was going deep into Russia territory, which was not supposed to happen. So I don't know. Someone was asking this question. LB, will the leaker be charged with the Espionage Act? That's a good question. We'll have to wait and see. That's the first thing that came to my mind, actually, when I heard about they caught the suspect here.
The only answer is that you don't actually have a journalistic mindset, that you far more identify with your job as working for the government than working for the American people. If you look at the history of the most important journalism stories, it's exactly insiders like Daniel Ellsberg sees that the government is lying to the American people about the war in Vietnam, saying we're winning when in reality, privately, they're saying we're losing, and he goes and he shows the American people the truth. Or Edward Snowden, who heard James Clapper falsely deny the NSA was spying on American people. He had the evidence in his hand and he risked his security to show the truth. Same things WikiLeaks did. This is what you celebrate in journalism. Our journalists, meaning the media corporations, hate this because they actually work for their government. That is their true allegiance.
Exactly. Imagine if Glenn Greenwald, in the beginning, when he got that information from Edward Snowden, imagine if instead of publishing the story, imagine if Glenn Greenwald turned Edward Snowden in to the US government. That's how I want you to picture this, people. Like, what the fuck? Let's go on. We'll finish up here.
You have to defend truth tellers. You cannot abet lying. If you have an entire country based on lies, it just does not end well. You have to tell the truth. I think you're certainly a living example of that. Glenn Greenwald, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tucker.
Carrie said Sabby news networks like institutions are funded by the government. They are all CIA assets. There you go. There you go. So you just can't trust it. You can't trust this information. Now, some people are saying, well, that's their job as a journalist. As a journalist, it's not your job to turn people in, though. You're supposed to cover the story. Now, I told you that this is actually going to be used as an excuse to push something like the Restrict Act. Call my bluff. Exclusive. The Biden administration is looking at expanding how it monitors social media sites and chat rooms after U.S. intelligence failed to realize classified Pentagon documents circulated online for weeks. You guys see what they're trying to do? They are looking at expanding how it monitors social media sites and chat rooms. And this is the reason why some people are saying, or some people believe, what if this was all done on purpose? As an excuse for them to push that Restrict Act through. They want to watch us. They want to see what we're doing. They want to see what we're saying. Didn't Edward Snowden reveal this to people? They want to see what we're doing. They want to be able to look in our homes. It's scary. There's no such thing as privacy in this country. I want to be real. Soon as you think you're not being watched, all of a sudden something shows up on your phone that you were just talking to your friend about. But this is a big red flag. U.S. may change how it monitors the web after missing leaked documents. See, this is what I was talking about. There you go. So you let me know if you know of a 21-year-old, pretty much entry-level soldier for the National Guard of all places. Let me know if you think they're able to get access to top secret information at the Pentagon. I'm not here to tell you that what they're saying is 100% false. But what I am trying to show you is that even you need to question the narrative.